Hey guys, sorry about the joining you a little late here.
Dick Shake, my friend. Hello.
How you doing?
Doing all right. Had a busy morning preparing for the SHI tournament stream tonight. It's going to be fantastic.
It's gonna be lit.
It is going to be lit. Let me tell you. I am here for the powerhouse matchup of is it Riku or Rikuplayer? Rikuplayer versus TheCowness. Cowness from Indiana. Not sure where in the world Riku is from. I don't know if we can start some like regional, some regional antagonism. Oh wow, they're going. Here they go.
I made it just in time.
Yeah. So I wonder if people are watching this for the first time and not familiar with the randomizer at all. Oh, Riku is Canadian. But people who have played Zelda 2 before will notice immediately that the overworld is completely different. This is a randomizer. All of the overworld is built fresh with each seed. All of the caves and items and palaces are mixed up. Looks like we got both guys going into the medicine cave right now. Medicine cave called so because in the oh no wait, this is the magic cave. Sorry.
Yeah,
magic cave. So it's called so because the in the regular game you find a magic container, and in this game we find a magic container. So the randomizer is not working.
Yeah, it's broken. We got a quick town here as well, but not.
So that was that was Ruto, if I saw correctly, which is one of the towns that you can get a spell. 4 towns on the west continent that have spells in them. 2 you can get for free just by going in and completing a simple mission, and the other 2 you actually have to like go and find an item for it. Oh, Scorpion Max, give me a break! Come on, man, we're doing a lot here.
So we found
this looks like Trophy Cave. Is this really Trophy Cave?
It's Trophy Cave, and then I think we also have Heart Container Cave on Countess's side. So 3 of the 5
and it
caves.
has a heart in it.
Yeah, we're not off to a good start in terms of item randomization here.
Yeah, this is not going to impress the viewers right here. Oh, and we get a this is what we call a little digger in the community because it's a it's a 1-up. Not the most useful thing at the beginning of the game, where people are probably just going to be up-Aing a whole lot as soon as they find a cave. Some of these caves are faster just to up-A out of and start looking somewhere else rather than walking your way out. But these early levels, you get experience, you can get some quick levels. So sometimes I do like to just kind of keep going as much as I can.
Yeah.
Grab those early levels.
Wow.
Primarily in the beginning. Sorry, Dick Shake. Primarily in the beginning of this, we're going to be looking for the 5 caves which contain items: Heart Container Magic, or Heart Cave, Magic Cave, Medicine Cave, Trophy Cave, and then the Peabag Cave. And then there's also a grass tile where they can find an item. So that's 6 items that they can just, walk around and find immediately. Some of those will help gain access to spells. Ooh, so this is now the Medicine Cave, and we have a Diarrhea. The orange ones are not so hard when you're at low levels, but the red ones could be a little bit more problematic. This blue Gorilla actually could be a real problem.
We had a fairy spell pickup for Riku, so that's a good spell to find early.
That really is. So the reason why we're so excited to find the fairy spell is that it will, if it's castable, gain you access to the downstab technique, which is really great for safety, especially at low levels, and will allow a much more safe exploration of the East continent if they happen to find the raft. And that's a place where they could really level up quickly at the beginning of the game. It also will make exploration of palaces possible if you don't have keys, because you can ferry through doors. Of course, at the beginning of the game, you're not going to have tons of magic, so you might not be able to cast it a whole lot, but hopefully, you can get through a couple doors and then find keys.
Yeah, speaking of exploration, Countess grabbed the boots out of Medicine Cave, and Riku's going to do the same here in just a moment. So that'll greatly help their ability to get around on the overworld.
Yeah, it's... So I'm a little bit ahead of the stream. I wonder... well, maybe I won't call out stuff. I'll just talk in general terms.
You can be the color. I'll be the play-by-play.
Yeah, I think you're better suited at that anyway, Dig Shake. So something that's really great about finding the boots is that oftentimes the overworld will be bisected by like a large lake or a river. or maybe you just can't gain access to like a certain portion of the overworld. Having the boots will let you kind of walk out on the beach and then travel the ocean. Oh, as we can see, we do have one of those rivers kind of cutting the western continent in half. So if you have the boots, you just walk right across that. You don't have to go hunting for caves to get you across. Looks like Countess is going into Palace 1 right now with levels 1, 1, 2.
Yep.
Shouldn't be too hard unless he runs into some blue iron knuckles, but this is a little bit gutsy to do with so few levels. I mean, he'll get them kind of quick if he can fight a bunch of these large enemies here.
I think the more interesting thing is that he has fairy, but he can't currently cast it. So maybe taking a couple magic levels would be worth his while. Yeah,
ordinarily I save magic levels for after I've gotten a few attack levels and then some life levels. But if you're trying to get your fairy castable, so he's definitely doing that.
And Mido's sitting right there too with downstab. So
TheCowness just had the most amazing throw his hands up in the air, like bummed out that he took a magic level and he still can't cast fairy.
The fairy gesticulation is expensive. Is it 100 something?
It's 114. Like you couldn't find a more expensive fairy spell.
That is insane.
Yeah, that sucks. So the way well, maybe you could speak about the randomization of the spell cost, Digshake.
Yeah, so the way it works is that spell costs can go plus or minus 50% at each level, but they will always go down. They'll never go up from one level to the next. I guess they could also
won't move at all.
Yeah,
right.
Which is what we just saw actually with Countess on Fairy, I believe. So he just got a really bad roll for Magic 1, and the Magic 2 roll did not do him any favors either. But Fairy in vanilla does go down in Magic 3, so I don't think there's any possible way that it could still be 114 at Magic 3.
Yeah.
We saw
what palaces
Riku.
Do we have right now that we know of? We have Palace 1, and was that Palace 2 that Riku was in?
I think it was 2, yeah, but he didn't seem too terribly interested in exploring it much further. I don't think we've seen the third palace yet.
Yeah, and there's still some towns and spells and items. Like I haven't seen anyone hit the grass tile yet. You know, when there's just so much free stuff that will make exploration of palaces easier. It's usually nice to kind of go looking for those first and then start spending time in palaces. Yeah,
well, the carrot, if you will, is the fact that there are extra keys in these palaces, so that does make it a little more tempting to hop in there and see if you get lucky with the keys. Maybe grab an early item. There's a third palace right there on Riku's screen.
Let's see what this one is. That's the Great Palace.
Yep.
Oh, sorry, I'm ahead, I'm sure. Let me pause these guys. I've been told that I'm ahead, so give me a moment to.
So we've. So I guess the big things that we're missing here are just the grass tile and that pea bag cave. I don't think we've seen an entrance to Death Mountain yet, have we?
I have not seen that. I also haven't noticed a boulder yet. So I don't know if like the pea bag cave is accessible at the moment. But oh, cool. So we're going into Saria right now. This is one of the towns where you can get a free spell just by picking up a mirror that a woman left in someone else's house and returning it to her. So we'll see what that is. Countess is having a fight with Horsehead, who really isn't too dangerous. I'd be really surprised if anything went wrong here. Horsehead dropping just chump change. Oh, so we have the Thunder spell.
So 2 good spells off the bat. Actually, it looks like Thunder is castable, but ridiculous. Fairy is not.
Man, if you have Thunder and you're on the East Continent and you're early and you're casting that all the time, you could really level up quickly. So, I mean, I think I would at this point, as soon as I find that raft, go take some chances there, grab some levels, and then just power through these other palaces. Yeah, magic levels, especially early on, something that these runners could use here. A gigantic, horrible graveyard over on Countess's side, and absolutely nothing of value from traversing it.
That's Riku, I believe.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah, it's Riku on the bottom. My mistake. We don't have Larry, the professional commentator here, so you got me.
Oh, come on. He's not even here. We don't need to talk about him.
No, he's in the chat. He's in the chat. Welcome, Larry. Oh, there's the grass tile, so we're going to see that on Riku's side. And the freaking glove, dude. This is going to be a fast seed, man. Unless like Reflect is buried.
Yeah, it's kind of shaping up that way. I mean, we got to see how these magic spells turn out as well.
Mm-hmm. But it's already looking pretty good. It's looking like this is going to be a very aggressive seed.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess the kind of question is, like, once everyone has all the stuff that they're looking for, in order to completely beat the game, I think the only things that are required is Fairy Glove, and some people don't think that Fairy is required. I do. Fairy Glove, Reflect, and Thunder. And then it's just like, how comfortable are you finishing the game, and when do you stop looking for other items and just clearing palaces? So it might just be whoever's the bravest out of these two will be the most successful.
Yeah. Well, got this P-bag cave here, and it looks like gonna grab a raft. So that is a very important piece. They're not gonna have to go dig it out of Death Mountain like we've seen a couple times recently. I'm sure they're both breathing a sigh of relief about that.
Oh, King Dalsanum stole the fortune teller. Man, it's so hard to not commentate. But I'm watching on the multi Twitch, and the restreamers using VLC, so I think our sync is just different.
Have we seen? I guess TheCowness is still searching for the item in 1. So
TheCowness is still in chat. He's being super salty and just like he's making chat in his own room. That's great. Okay, so by the color, we're both in the same palace right now.
Yeah, this is definitely Palace 1. Trying to figure out what this item is. Although if you're Riku, you're not too concerned about items, right? I mean, you got the glove, you got the raft. What do you need?
I don't know what else he needs, but I mean, if you're like me, I really, Palace 1 is so small, and it's so unlikely that you're going to get key blocked that if you're going to grab any item, like, you want some magic containers. You don't want to go to the end of the game with
That's true.
with just 5. Like, it could be something good. It could also be like the shield spell, which would really make things, well, it wouldn't be the spell, but it could be an item that gets you that. I think it's worth at least seeing what it is, because it's not a huge palace, and there's at least one more key than is strictly necessary in here, so you'd be going into another palace with an extra key. Although if Fairy becomes castable, that's a little bit less of an issue. But yeah, if you were going to be in any palace looking for an item, this is a pretty good one. So I was saying before the match that TheCowness mostly plays. He's a speedrunner of Dragon Warrior 4 and of Ocarina of Time. He really doesn't play this game very much, and I know that he hadn't played Randomizer at all since the last tournament until this past week. But he is, he's a decent player, and I know that the first match I ever saw him play in last year's tournament, he was using no downstab strats on Rebanak, so he'll totally, he's someone who does study tech and can execute when required. But and he also has been watching all of the restreams. So I think that's actually a really good way to learn how to play Randomizer effectively, is by watching and then seeing like the decision making of other people and listening to commentary.
Yeah, absolutely.
So even without maybe a whole lot of practical, it's the cross, and TheCowness looks so bummed. I love the cross personally, only in a in a secular way, but it really is helpful when you go over to the east and you can see the invisible MOAs and not get wrecked by them.
Yeah, I think yeah, it's definitely beneficial before heading east, although for most runners probably not considered something worth their time to go dig up. Considering how long he was in Palace 1, actually, because I think he had to go find all those keys and such.
It was a bit of a detour. Yeah. It's completely fair to say that was a unnecessary detour, but it might, might keep him alive, but it isn't what he was looking for. Countess has the raft. He's the kind of guy that's going to go. He's the kind of guy that's going to go straight over to the east, I think.
You think so?
Yeah, I do. I mean, he knows that so once you travel east, there's 2 tiles that are accessible that have items, the desert tile and the water tile. There's 2 items on Maze Island, and there's also 2 point bag caves that have items. So there's tons of stuff over there. It's true that they all have the kind of required stuff, but if you were gonna, buff yourself up a little bit, and also maybe get some levels to maximize the score at the end of these palaces when you put the gem in. Oh, I'm not gonna say what happened. It's not a bad idea to go do that and just kind of do some quick power leveling.
Yeah, so we got Riku going in here. This is. Do we still think this is 2? I think this is probably. Yeah, this is definitely 2, but it's still an interesting decision to head in here, since he still cannot cast Fairy. Has a few keys left over from 1. It looks like.
I mean, 2 is pretty big. If you have downstab in the glove, 3 is a pretty nice palace to go into without keys, because there's just so many keys in that one.
Yeah, that's true. No downstab yet, though.
Yeah, because they can't cast Fairy. And he's going to farm... sorry, Digshake. He's going to farm off that dropper, get some of these orange iron knuckles. They're only worth 70. Countess, for some reason, thinks it's a good idea to go into Death Mountain. Don't know what this is about.
Most people avoid Death Mountain like the plague, but Countess deciding that that's where he needs to be right now. Did he go east? I didn't see him.
No one's done that yet. They've both kind of like hem and hawed like near the raft spot. Yeah, if they had the hammer, the boulder is accessible from the coast, so that's something. He has a little bit of information, but really not a lot of chance for payoff in Death Mountain for the time invested, when you could really easily just go east and hopefully just find some stuff laying on the ground, or find the jump spell. That could be like, there could be a town right near the dock that has the jump spell, and then get your downstab and then just go full on dig shake.
Yeah, no kidding. Well, we need reflect spell as well too. But hey, look at that.
And even better, and it's so sad that the people watching right now, the viewers, can't see TheCowness, because he just totally did like a wink and a point at the screen when he found this cave. Like, haha, I got you.
Greeted by a red Dyra there. It doesn't have too much trouble though.
Yeah, it looks like he knows how to fight one of those. I mean, not with the highest level strat, but when you see a red Dyra and you don't die from it, you did something right.
Meanwhile, on Riku's side, he does take Magic 3, and Fairy is now castable, which is pretty huge. Can't really emphasize enough how useful that's going to be for him. Can get through doors, can get down stab now. You
can save yourself from a fall in the lava. It's such a great spell to have. Sometimes you just find yourself in a room that completely sucks, and you just Fairy over all the enemies. Really, really handy thing to have. Yes, in the chat, people are saying that the Fairy feat is a fast way to move through some. Okay, Countess went deep into Death Mountain to find a heart. That should have been long enough.
I wondered if you were stalling or if that was actually real time.
No, I was trying to buy time.
So if you're Countess, where are you heading at this point? Are you going to go poke around level 2 like Riku, or
no? I'm just going to hang out in some desert encounters and get wrecked by rocks.
We know where the raft is, right? Like, that is known.
He absolutely knows where it is. It's on the coast. He can get there. He's chasing down fairies. I think maybe he's stalling for time. I know that a lot of times in Ocarina of Time races, is people go and like they get like the first sword, and they do it just to buy themselves time to kind of think about what their real plans are. I wonder if TheCowness has a plan, and if he's just sort of trying to randomly stumble into an objective. He's going into desert tiles, which isn't really going to help him unless he's on the east, where you could potentially find, you can find P bags, and you could find a what we call a large item, which would be one of like the major items on the tracker down below the screens, like the cross, the flute, the glove, and other things.
Is he missing a cave? Like, I don't think that he's missing a cave, but it kind of feels like the way he's walking around.
He's missing 2 caves on the East Coast and a whole bunch of other stuff. That's what he's missing.
Oh, okay.
I mean, even if he is missing a cave, I think that there's just he'll have an easier time finding something that he's looking for on the East Coast.
Well, he does find Great Palace there and shakes his head as he nopes on out.
And if it seems like I'm picking on TheCowness, he's a friend of mine. We've actually met in person. He was visiting friends out here in California and hung out on my stream. Took him to a African preserve to see a bunch of giraffes and stuff. We had a good time.
Well, he actually called you out pre-race. I think he wants to win this one so that he can face off against you in the next round.
Yeah, it's funny he wants to meet up with me because I, was going to be traveling through Indiana, and he wasn't willing to take any time off at work to hang out. So, if he wants to, he had his chance to see me. But I guess we'll meet virtually in the race, hopefully, because when we faced each other in, I think it was the very first match of last year's randomizer tournament, he won that race, but it was controversial because the seed had like an error in it. And then we rematched, and I took that race. So it was we don't feel like the score has been settled.
Yep.
So this was Thunder, right? What TheCowness is going to be picking up here?
I believe that's correct.
Which is no spoilers because we saw Riku pick it up.
Riku is very determined to explore this palace too here.
I was about to ask, how long has he been in here? It seems like a while.
It might be usually one of those things where it's like, you're here, you might as well try and get it done. You got the glove, you can clear it. So,
I mean, I would hate to spend this much time in a palace and then leave and have to come back. What's that backtrack going to cost you?
Yeah.
Although, I mean, Helmet Head is, sometimes a difficult boss. He's, if you're using like the kind of jump toward strats, it's really easy to just kind of get body checked by him, and then the bullets start coming out if you don't beat him quick enough. So it's, it is and it's a big palace. It's one that, is sometimes easier with a few more levels.
Yeah, that's definitely true. And downstab for that matter.
Oh, he still wouldn't have it. I mean, he has the fairy spell now castable, but he didn't have it when he was out on the overworld.
Yeah, he can go get it. But, well, here we go.
Taking the boat on over, and TheCowness decides to go right back. This is great.
Just trying to fake us out a little bit.
So the benefits of the boots becoming apparent right now. He doesn't have to go where the man tells him to go. He's just going to go to the hugest forest ever and just trying to get the lay of the land here. Lots of stuff accessible from the coast. So boots really being a great early find considering this this East Coast layout. Popping in. Oh, and we have a water tile sighting. The chat is correct that the cross is paying off right away. Dick Shake called out. What did we just find?
That right there was a trophy. So
that was a trophy.
Go back and get another spell from Ruto. Considering they still need Reflect, that is not a bad item to find.
So is Riku on his last life now on Helmet Head, which we did discuss can be a tricky boss?
It's possible. He doesn't have any defensive magic either. No shield, no life.
Oh, poor guy. And he is making the decision to not finish that palace right now. Unfortunate. He is going to have to make a backtrack. That was a lot of time.
Yep. But he knows how to get there at least. If he can
knows how
remember
to get there
when he comes back.
When he comes back, he'll be way more buff. Now this might be a case. There was a discussion last night by Angry Larry of whether or not it's kind of assessing your opponent, their relative skill level, and how aggressive you might be depending on who your opponent is. I know that like if you were facing if I was facing you, Dig Shake, I would play absolutely as fast as I can because I know that you're not going to be stopping for anything. If you know that someone is maybe a little bit less high level, you can kind of assume that they're going to be taking their time a little bit as well. And so I wonder if that's kind of in any of these players' calculations, if they've scouted each other and kind of summed up how go mode they need to be.
Yeah, it's an interesting question. I think though for some players, really it's just about getting through the darn thing, and that's all you're really focused on, right? It's just trying to get through. At all can be a challenge.
That's very true. So there's been a lot of discussions of like when do you have your minimum complement of items to beat the game? When do you have your minimum spells that you need? And there's a strictly there's an objective answer, but then there's also like given my skill level, I don't want to go into Great Palace with less than 5 heart containers. Mm-hmm. So you're not. I mean, no, you don't technically need it. Now that's a good pickup. I won't say what it is.
Count is pointing at the screen and giving a little thumbs up when he picks up.
I don't think he knows how the restreams work and that we can't see it.
Oh, but it's great. It's great for us. So I enjoy it.
I wonder if this is how he watches TV. Like when one of his favorite characters does a move he likes, he gives him the thumbs up. Like, yeah, you really showed that burglar what's up.
He's gonna search Maze Island for some items here.
Yes. So let's talk about Maze Island. On this maze is 2 hidden tiles. There's actually many hidden tiles. Some of them have encounters and some of them have items. So there's 2 items available by falling into pits here on Maze Island. It's made a lot easier to explore by having the boots, which lets you circumvent some of the encounter tiles, which you don't need to go through unless you absolutely have to. And so he'll just be kind of trying to step on every square of this maze and look for these 2 items. Yep. I don't think he's fallen into any pits yet.
Not that I've seen.
He's finding just about every encounter.
So if you're Countess, what are you hoping to find here?
Oh, well, I mean, he got the key. I mean, that's a really big one. A magic container would help you maybe get another spell out of New Cthulhu. End up getting a heart container. which I'm sure he doesn't mind. Oh, he just likes dropping down this pit, which is good. I mean, you're going to take a lot of damage. I think having heart containers and high health levels will really make Great Palace a lot better or a lot easier to survive. The Gooma fight's going to be a big problem. Some of these palaces get a lot bigger, so staying alive is important. He definitely doesn't need the flute. We saw that the River Devil isn't blocking anything important. So I think he's just looking. Like I don't think there's anything really on the list that he wants more than another thing.
Well, there's a magic container for his trouble.
Did you see what Countess just did?
No, I missed it.
He was annoyed that he got hit by that that Lizalfos in I think he'd kind of and so he went back to try to cast thunder on him and then realized that he didn't have the magic to do it. Because he was in fairy mode, so he couldn't just attack him.
Yeah.
But it was a really great salty move. I feel bad because we've been looking mostly at Countess's screen, Riku is in Palace 1 right now, ferrying around a red iron knuckle a blue iron knuckle and going through the door.
Mm-hmm. He did pick up the cross there. So now he's on the hunt for Horsehead, I assume, and it looks like Countess is going to grind a little bit.
Yeah, well, I didn't see what this red iron knuckle is worth, so I don't know if this is a great idea.
It's about
I think he's just trying to get this
150.
quick level. Yeah, but that was enough to get him his attack level. So that makes sense. If he was maybe down on lives and close to a level before going into the palace and dying and losing everything, that because he would want to up A before doing this.
Countess is taking the time in his chat to say that really all he needs is reflect.
Mm-hmm.
We know, buddy.
Oh, that's true. That's true.
So he is aware that he's just one spell away from being full dig shake.
Now, he was the one who picked up the trophy, right? Did he cash that in?
He did not, and now he's going into Palace 6. He does not have downstab still, so this Rebo fight is going to be a lot trickier.
No, I know that he can do this, and he is the kind of guy that would do this just to see if he could do it. I've seen him actually waste time in races before just trying to do something cool, but he's shaking his head. He's deciding that that's not not worth it at the moment. I mean, it's so much easier just to go get the damn downstab.
Yeah, I think that little encounter there might have spurred him to, well, maybe not. I thought he was going to go grab downstab after that, but
what, he's deciding to go into a palace.
Yeah, we're going to do Palace 2 instead. Looks like.
Well, I mean, it's technically closer. It's on the way to doing whatever else he's going to do. He also, if he goes and cashes in that trophy, he might know that he doesn't need to get any more spell items, which would speed up his palace exploration.
Yeah, that's
and overworld exploration for that matter. Oh, Countess is saying he thought he was in Palace 3.
Yeah, and I mean, Palace 3 is definitely a lot easier than 6 to get around, but you still have that Rebo at the end, so I'm not sure what his plan would have been. I think
maybe he thought he could tank through one Rebo, but not two. So if people don't know what we're referring to, is that the 3rd and 6th palace, as they are usually required to go in the vanilla game, they have the same pillars outside, so you don't necessarily know which one you're getting into when you go in there, and they also share some same rooms, so it's not always clear which of the two palaces you're in. Is that correct?
For 3 and 6, yeah, you don't really know what's going on until you get in there and look around a little bit. Riku does finish up Palace 1. He's going to go back to Palace 2, but this time he's got down stab, so he should have a much easier time.
Oh, so we're going to see what the Ruto spell is, or is this just a health refill? This is
yeah. He doesn't have the trophy, so
I should pull up the restream so I could look at the tracker. That's a good idea.
Looks like we got Cowness forgetting that he's got the magic key here. He's going to go down and grab this key. Well, maybe he just doesn't realize that option is on. I don't know. Maybe he thought it could have been a P bag. Or maybe he just didn't know it was a dead end. I guess that's an option too.
Yeah, the Countess, he doesn't play a lot of Zelda 2. So, I mean, it is entirely possible that he doesn't have the palaces memorized. I mean, I don't have a lot of the palaces memorized. I do tend to know what my dead ends look like, though.
That's a big time saver, honestly, just knowing that you are in a dead end without having to go all the way down and back.
Man, I sometimes I think skull bubbles are just the worst enemy in the game. Like they're not super bad, but if you're trying to fight something else and they're just bouncing around, and maybe you get like a doom rattler throwing hammers too, you can just get a room that's so nasty and nastier than the sum of its parts.
Yeah.
Nice 200-point P-bag on the Countess's side.
We got Riku waiting to grind, he actually should probably go pick up that red jar, because that will prevent things from spawning after a while.
Wow, he's getting a real lucky streak on these iron knuckles.
Takes attack 4. Is he going to continue to grind, or and a life level on top of it?
Wow, he was only at life 2? Well, no wonder he was having so much trouble.
Yeah, that would explain some of the dying problems that he had, especially on Helmet Head. Going in there with life 2 is pretty painful. But he's in good shape now.
Yeah, this should be completely doable.
Both of them, in fact.
On the usually in the game, there's a drop where every 6th large enemy and every 6th small enemy, I believe, that you defeat will drop an item. If it's a small enemy, it will drop 7 out of 8 chance a blue jar, which refills 1 magic container, and then or 50-point P bag, and then it's a 50-50 chance of a 200-point P bag or full refill jar from the large enemies. Is that any different for the randomizer?
It is indeed. We have an option on that shuffles the drop rate to be either anywhere between 4 enemies to 8 enemies, and it's a really subtle thing. You don't hear people counting enemies in randomizer very often, but it actually can have an effect. I'll more often to notice it when it's generous than when it's not, because I'll just see these red jars dropping all over the place. It's like, okay, got good drop luck this time around.
And then just so we know, is there any enemies that are not on either of the drop tables?
There are at least a few, although, gosh, I'd be very hard pressed to name them. I think the Tinsus aren't.
They definitely.
Thunderbird is not, but I mean, none of the bosses.
Someone's saying Doom Knockers don't.
Doom Knockers? No, I don't think that's true.
And then Enchantress of Numbers is saying that blue Iron Knuckles and blue Alphos and Skull Bubbles for sure. Oh, okay. Agenos is just making stuff up. But I would believe that Enchantress of Numbers for sure.
Yeah, there's a chart that I've seen that shows the drop categories. I believe it's on redcandle.us.
Doom
just a great.
Definitely not. Wow.
Just a great site,
everybody. Look at all this knowledge that we're getting right now.
Yeah.
So am I crazy? Both of our players are in the same palace. Just to recap, they, I'm just going by the color, and they are in Palace 2.
Yep.
Judging by this room, which is a go left, and you don't have jump or fairy.
Countess grabbed the item, which was a
magic container, right?
Yeah.
Looks like Riku's gonna go in there and grab one as well. Digshake, have you ever made the full jump up those disintegrating steps to go backwards to that room?
I have not, and I never intend to. Honestly, it's not a thing that I need to check off my list, because it's not even on my list.
I believe it's so awesome to watch it happen. I don't think it's at all worth the investment to try to do it. Like, I mean, it would just take so much practice, and so unlikely to actually, pan out properly in a pressure situation.
I think if you practice it honestly wouldn't be all that bad.
Oh, okay.
But...
So we saw an instance of TheCowness recognizing that he was on a dead end. It was only going to have a key at the end of that room, and just quickly noped out of there. So, recognizing the rooms that you're in without having to walk fully into them is pretty great.
Yeah. So both players just needing to pick up, needing to find Helmet Head. Riku knows where Helmet Head is. Countess does not.
So those dog heads that go flying around, or maybe those are unicorn heads. I don't know what we exactly call them. They have that sine wave sort of pattern as they fly through. The Countess killed them. They were worth 50 points each, but I think it was just to get them the hell out of the way.
Yeah, they won't respawn if you're careful. There's spawn points in the room where if you scroll them off the screen and back on, they will respawn. But if you're careful not to scroll the spawn point back on the screen, they will stay dead.
We have a boss sighting on the Countess's screen. Aggressively going for head stabs, taking a bullet in the back and in the chest. Not exactly the fight he was looking for, but I think that now he has died and has full life and magic. Maybe he'll take it a bit more carefully.
Actually, it doesn't really look like it. He's just charging in.
I think he just assumes that he's got more health than the boss, and he'll just rope-a-dope it.
On Helmet Head, those beams that the main boss shoots out actually do a fair amount of damage. If you're gonna get hit by something in that room, get hit by the beams from the floating heads. They don't do nearly as much damage.
So that's an interesting thing to point out, that I believe on like the blue Lizalfos, if you hit their body, it does way less damage than getting hit by their mallets that they throw. It's something that kind of happens throughout the game where if you know you're going to have to take a hit, like kind of picking what you're going to get hit by and choosing that option, it can be a strategy that situationally could really save your life.
Yeah, I mean, almost sort of deboosting in a way to get somebody off your back for a minute while you get a few hits in on them.
The Countess is just taking all kinds of time to chat. It's really great. He's I think he's quite adept at steering with one hand and typing in chat with the other.
And here he goes to Rudo.
So this is the first time that we're going to find out what this spell is. We saw Riku pop in here earlier, but it was just to get a health refill. If you're going to get a health refill in any town on the west, Rudo is definitely the one, because there's a magic refill and a health refill right in the first room. I'm not going to call up what that is.
Well, let's just say the Countess should have picked this up maybe before going into Palace 2.
So the shield spell, it halves the damage that you take from enemies, but only for the one screen that you're on. And that's all the spells that you cast are only effective. If they have a sustaining effect, it's only for the one screen that you're on.
Yeah. Poor Riku, meanwhile, is having a little bit of trouble getting through this Helmet Head fight. Took a game over. What are we going to see Countess do next?
I forget what the other... There's one more palace on this coast. Wait, he completely died on Helmet Head, didn't he?
It's Great Palace. Countess took Helmet Head out.
He did. Okay.
Good. I'm hoping we'll see him. Yeah, he's doing what he needs to, which is getting this down stab. Surprised he waited this long.
About time. It's one of the. I mean, almost as soon as I possibly can get it. I was in a race the other night where I was on the eastern continent, and I knew I was near a bunch of stuff, and so I resisted the temptation to just quickly up a stab just to do a little bit more exploration, because I wasn't sure when I was going to be back. And but you don't want to go too long. It's going to keep you alive. It's going to make it possible to get through some palaces. I think like 3 and 6 have those rooms that are really, I don't think there's any way to get through them without downstabbing with the glove.
3 has a room where downstab is definitely much easier with where the room's definitely much easier with downstab. 6, I think you can do without it, actually.
Okay.
The randomizer only checks for 3, and even in 3, it's possible to get through without downstab if you know how to do the trick with the jump spell.
Oh, okay.
Which is kind of interesting if you think about it. As much as we value downstab, that is one of the things that is not actually strictly required to beat this game. You do not, absolutely do not need downstab to beat Zelda 2. However, it is possible to be blocked by upstab in the Great Palace.
So yeah, Link Sevens is saying in 3 you can do that maneuver with jump or upstab plus fairy, or just fairy,
or just upstab. I would think would also work.
So wow, Riku, man, this is, if I recall correctly, he was in 2 and spent a while in here and then left and then came back and then spent a long time in here and is either on his 3rd trip back or at least his 3rd full reset to get back to Helmet Head.
Yeah, it kind of feels like a Tin Cup moment almost, where he knows he can do it and he's going to keep trying until he gets it. There's no shame in going to do something else for a little while and come back.
You know, it might even just shake off the kind of frustration, get you out of a rut if you're having a hard time in a palace.
Is this the one?
There you go. That's how we do it. Oh, and it looks like we're getting full exploration of Firetown. So there's, I think every town, once you've grabbed the spell, it's faster to go. It's faster to go back out the way you came in, to go to the right, and only in Nabooru is it.
You got.
Oh no, it's always faster to go to the left. Yeah, but if you go left out of Nabooru, it's actually a longer trek.
What spell did he?
So it's rarely seen in a speed run.
Fire.
Chat, help me out. I saw. I looked up. I was watching the boss fight, and I saw
Tracker.
I saw him.
Tracker says fire, so
okay.
HN's doing a better job of watching than we are.
But we haven't seen what spell it's linked with, and I believe that TheCowness, at least from watching these streams, knows now that fire is linked with another spell, which is a he did cast it. Okay, it's not thunder and it's not spell.
Well, it might be reflect then.
Yeah, that'd be great. Which is sometimes hard to prove because you have to find an enemy that has something that you can reflect.
Process of elimination is usually enough, though.
Yeah.
I actually have always wondered if those rattles, those hammers that the Doom Rattlers are throwing there are blockable with reflect, because I know that the maces that the Doom Knockers throw are.
Mm-hmm. I don't think Riku has spent any time on the Eastern continent yet. Is that correct?
He hasn't even taken the raft, I don't think.
I don't think there's anything of vital importance that we've seen over there yet, but it is. We're getting pretty far into this race. About 47 minutes. There was the magic key.
Yep, and of course all the palaces, and probably the reflect spell somewhere.
Yeah.
TheCowness making his way through this lemon yellow colored Palace 5.
It's kind of ugly.
You don't like it, huh?
No, because it's close enough to like the gold bricks of the Great Palace, but looking a lot cheaper and tarnished. So this is the bootleg Great Palace. TheCowness is doing probably what I would do, and it's just ferry through this damn room. I mean, it sucks. It's really easy to get trapped by a bunch of enemies, and there's all those blocks are breakable by your downstab if you have the glove. TheCowness does not seem to know that this is a dead end room. He'll be finding out shortly. Well, the fire spell didn't heal him.
No, I think at this point it's got to be reflect because it didn't kill anything either, right?
Yeah, I think that the chat's saying all the other options have been eliminated, so that's pretty good. So
yeah, he's full on dig shake then, if that's the case.
Well, that hasn't yet to be seen. He would be entitled to go full on dig shake at this point.
I'm not sure what that means. I don't think you're using that term correctly.
Oh no, it's shield. It's shield.
Okay.
Oh man, the problem with these tunic colors, like a lot of people play with like different colored tunics. Oh, I can't even use that excuse because his brightness is a little bit high, but I think that's a usual green. No, that's kind of a weird green.
That might explain why he's casting it so much then.
Yeah, so you always have the choice of the life spell would heal you back, and not that they have a life spell, but the life spell heals you 3 blocks of health, and the shield spell will for your entire health bar, as long as you don't leave the screen, will double it. So it's it's interesting to make the calculation sometimes like what your better option is for like how do you get the most health out of a situation of cast a heal spell or shield. But man, it's I think it's an underused spell, and usually people don't cast it until they've taken a couple hits and realize that they're kind of in trouble. But I like Buzz Thunder's advice. I know he told me once that you should just cast shield in every room of Great Palace. Like, why not?
I don't agree with that strategy, but
You can cast life multiple times. TheCowness is looking like he didn't know that was a fake wall. I mean, I don't know how he would have known to go through.
He had to know.
He like threw up his arms and looked surprised. Now Riku's on the overworld. He is on the east coast because we saw him go into Nibiru. I haven't seen him find Mesa Island yet.
Nope.
It can be really hard to kind of figure out where you are and what you're doing. The East Coast is it's a pretty big continent.
He likes taking these pass-through caves, which I personally find a little disorienting because you pop out and you're like, okay, where the heck am I?
Yeah, I mean, you don't know where it popped you out. Like it's nice to maybe hopefully find like a hidden area that has an important item, which can happen sometimes. You can take a cave and there's just like that's something in it, which you would not have been able to find any other way. But man, if you're trying to like mentally map it and you're just taking a bunch of caves without like doing a full exploration ahead of time, it's a little bit worse.
Yeah.
I mean, the cross, it's really nice to see them have these MOAs visible in these encounters. I mean, I guess still taking some damage, but man, it's so infuriating to get wrecked by invisible enemies.
TheCowness was actually happy to see Goomba, probably because he didn't have to explore Palace times. You did not see people terribly excited to fight.
Looks like he's trying to push him into the corner, maybe for the cheese strats. He has shield on, so he's not taking tons of damage from Goomba. But if he, you can't. He's just throwing some fireballs for the heck of it. Looks like he's settling down into a good attack pattern here. The nice thing about Goomba is that Goomba tends to drop a lot of experience. So like even if you find him early in a palace, he'll probably get you past your Magic 3 Life 4 on his own, only dropping 301 points there. But that is enough to be able to grab attack 6 off of this. The statues at the end of these palaces will take they'll give you enough experience to buy the next level you can't currently afford, which is the numbers you see on the top, a certain amount of experience out of next. So in this case, taking them up to 3,620. So that's the way that you can gain levels very quickly in vanilla, is to just use the palaces to get attack levels. And then you can even spend that. You don't have to spend it on your distribute it amongst your other levels. So I'm sure this information is review for most viewers, but we don't know who's going to be tuning in on these restreams.
So we're for reflect for Countess, and actually Riku as well only needs reflect really to wrap up this game.
We haven't
go ahead and I was just pointing out that Riku's going into 6, and he has down stab, unlike the Countess when he came here last time, so should be able to progress a bit through this dungeon.
Yeah, downstab really is the preferred way to deal with this Ribanak refight. Ribanak is the boss of Palace 3, and there's actually 2 of these. There's this room, and then there's another Ribanak refight where you can get an item out of the room as well. Audio cutting out? I don't know. I have not heard about audio cutting out. So at this point on the seen either Old Kasuto or New Kasuto, which are 2 that you can get. Kasuto, you just walk right in and then gain access to a lonely man in a basement in an abandoned. So it has an item that is available by of magic containers, which can be anywhere from, I believe. And then there's also an item that's available by casting spell at the end of town, and a free spell available just by finding a finding a basement with a sage in it.
It's actually between 5 and
5 and 7. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
And that's ordinarily where in the vanilla game you would get your 8th magic container.
Yeah.
So if you had 7, you'd be able to grab that last magic container.
So, people right now are those 2 towns, Kasuto, Old Kasuto, New Kasuto.
Oh, Sorry, I was messing around with audio settings to try to figure out what might be the issue. I don't know if it's on my end or if it's on. I'll start being a commentator again. Countess is just going through a cave. Well, we found the lava tube, which has it's called the Valley of Death, or nearly would have the Great Palace. It's something I forget that there's the Great Palace at the end of there, and I always forget to check it just because it's a real pain in the butt to get through all of these lava encounters.
Yeah, I think Riku actually went through there while I was busy messing around with my sound settings. The fact that he left indicates that it's most likely... wait a second, this could be a problem.
What's the problem?
I think this encounter's on a corner. Yeah. That's unfortunate. They're gonna have to encounter skip to get through that, which is not impossible, but it's also not really intended. That is a bug in the randomizer, is what that is. It shouldn't break the sea. A little bit trickier to get through there by having to take that encounter skip. He's asking me what to do. I'm not sure if I should answer that question or not. Out of fairness of both of these racers. I'm not sure if Countess knows the encounter skip technique.
Oh yeah, he's saying that Mr. Shake, what do I do? I can't get to Palace 3. Poor guy.
A little comfortable telling him that it's possible, but not telling him how to do it. I don't know if that's still unfair.
Well, you can I mean, if he thinks that there's a bug, and there's not a bug, I think it's fair to tell him.
Yeah, IRC is the best way. Thank you, Nir.
Good call. And sorry about the audio cutting out. I wish we'd known sooner. Don't know what I could.
How is that possible? Encounter skip. Just encounter skip it. I have notified them in IRC. I hope that they see it.
I mean, the Countess is a regular Speedruns Live runner, so I mean, I'm sure he has that chat open, and we'll look at it. Sorry, I was messing with stuff again. That was a water tile, but he'd already been into that one, so we did not... Oh no, it was Riku who got onto the water tile. And I see Riku playing with one hand, so maybe he's in the IRC as well. So he got the trophy. Which we know is just the fire spell linked with
That's
shield.
correct, yes.
But definitely something that, you know, he'll want to cash in because he knows that he does need reflect.
That was kind of a nasty little encounter there because it wasn't a Valley of Death encounter that caused that. It was the fact that the road went through the Valley of Death and placed a fence encounter there that caused the issue. Going in and out all the corner encounters, it already checks for that. So what it doesn't check for is the road and the Valley of Death overlapping, and it does not happen very often.
So I saw Riku trying to do, it looked like he was trying to do an encounter skip at least. So if that is what is necessary to get through here, you know, he definitely knows the strategies. In the TheCowness, he knows about encounter skips. Like, I don't know if he knows that that's what he needs to do, but he knows it's something that can be done. And Riku just WTF, not understanding why there was a fence encounter there.
Yeah, it's certainly not expected. Sorry, now I'm sitting here trying to think about how to fix it.
So, paying great. Okay, so this is Palace 6 that TheCowness is in right now, and he's mashing his controller for some reason. I don't like. He was holding it up and angrily like
He
showing.
missed it. That he jumped, and it ate his input.
Hit the button. I hit the button.
Yeah. Oof. Riku needing to be careful. He's almost through here, but with only life 3 is
Can't hit anything at this point. All right, we're in.
TM, yeah. 4 encounter Valley of Death.
I mean, that's not a very long. Like sometimes when the lava tube itself is pretty short, you don't get many encounters. That seems like a lot for how brief of a journey through Valley of Death that was. And those encounters are just no fun at all. So you can see in the floor here, there's just keys everywhere. I mean, it has a lot of doors, but it's one of the safer palaces, I think, if you don't have a magic key. As long as you have a downstab in the glove, like it's, you know, it's pretty simple to get through as far as keys go, which is really what stops people from exploring palaces early, I think. Like, you need some way to deal with locked doors.
Yep.
And you either need the fairy spell or you need the key, or you just need to get lucky, and it's going to be a hard time. But I think that if I hadn't found any of those things, I would be avoiding palaces almost entirely until I knew that I had to go into one of them. Because there's nothing worse than going in, getting blocked, and then having to...
That's my opinion as well, but we have seen a fair amount of gambling in this tournament. Not in this particular race, but in other races where people are perfectly happy to go into palaces without keys or much of anything.
Well,
really.
if you were playing against an opponent of strength or maybe stronger, then like, how do you make up that difference? I suppose the strategy would be to go against the meta and hope that they spend time where they don't need to spend time, following things in a more traditional route and trying to get a quick leg up on them, you know, just cutting corners wherever you can. I mean, it's a gamble. It's a definite gamble. But if you're pretty sure you're going to lose anyway, then what do you have to lose?
Yeah,
like,
that's true.
I mean, you have to go for all the big plays. Because if you
start going left all the time,
I mean, if you play the same strategy against someone who's better than you, you're just guaranteed to lose. Not guaranteed, but you know, it's something to think about.
Yeah, for sure.
So Riku, knowing that you can just skip going into that room, it's like the only palace room where you go outside, and ordinarily there's a key there, and in this case there is a key there. Something that they don't need anymore, but you know, as we talked about earlier, identifying the rooms that you have no business being in is a great way to not waste time.
Yeah, we did find that kid in Palace 3, so Riku can go catch. We still have not seen the 2 other free spells in this seed.
Which would be Kasuto and old Kasuto, right?
Yeah, it just makes you think that there's maybe one of those hidden little valleys somewhere that you gotta take a cave to get to.
I'm gonna say right now that there's definitely a cave that leads you to like one section of the continent that has both those towns in it, and maybe the desert tile as well, in a happy little valley.
We found the desert tile. We found the desert.
Oh, we did.
Tile.
Okay.
Yeah, it was the magic key, I believe. Am I remembering that correctly?
I thought the magic key was somewhere else.
No, I'm pretty sure that's where it was.
Yes, Digshake knows what he's talking about.
Well, not all the time, but in that particular time I did. Of course, you could always just take a peek at the tracker, see what's going on there. Although, actually, Magic Key's not marked on the item location tracker yet.
Ooh.
I did not mean that as a call out to HN. That was not my intention.
You know, I decided to not have the restream going just on the off chance that running 3 streams was hurting the internet and causing my audio to cut out. Because I know there's been audio problems on a lot of these restreams. I'm gonna assume it's all Discord.
They changed something recently that's been causing issues because I have not had audio trouble in the past.
It's really just been this tournament. It seems like every stream there's something going
on. But yeah, while we do kind of have a moment, I would like to say thanks to HN for putting on these restreams. He's doing 3 of them today.
What a hero!
So thanks for taking the time out to do this and doing a great job running the tracker. We appreciate you, buddy.
Yeah, all the restreamers, all the commentators, everyone for playing. It's what a time to be alive. Like, I couldn't have imagined it being a kid and playing this game when it came out and thinking that I would be, 35 and sitting in a basement watching and getting to commentate on it. That's really fantastic.
So Count is having kind of a hard time finding Barba here in Palace 6. And I don't think we ever saw Riku even finish up Palace 6. He did go in, but I don't remember.
No, we have not seen a Barba fight yet. I think that TheCowness is going to show us a jackhammer. No, he can't. He doesn't have jump. I think he would want to.
Yeah.
Because he's just, he's a flashy guy when he can be. Like, he likes to try hard stuff. And the jackhammer, it's a strategy you can use in a number of places in the game, where anytime you press down on the D-pad for 1 frame, you stab below. So you could mash at 30 hertz, just on off the down, if you really were able to do that. And so you can kind of pogo on Barba's head and just mash down a whole bunch and just smoke her. It's something you see people doing in these a 3-tile high hallway. If there's a blue iron knuckle, you can get on top of an iron knuckle and then just jackhammer their head off.
Yeah,
but it's a little bit dangerous with Barba because you do have to somehow get off her head and back onto solid ground before she dies and drops you into the lava. But man, when it works, it's so
Speaking
good.
Of jump spell, not having it actually might be causing a. We saw him fall in the Canadian hole once, and I feel like he might be going back there. Again, he does not have the jump spell, and you cannot ferry across that pit. It is possible to make that jump, but pretty darn tough.
It is tough. I think Link 7's last night did it without even like he just did it and didn't look like it was any trouble at all. I was really impressed with that. Also, sometimes with there's visual cues in the vanilla game, looking at the floor, it's not always, I don't feel, as easy to tell with some of these different palace layouts, because the palace palette is randomized. So this isn't
Mm-hmm.
the color or necessarily the tile set that this palace would ordinarily have, and so it can kind of mess up your marker.
Yeah, that's absolutely true, and I wonder if that's what caused Riku to abandon Palace 6 as well. If Barba's behind there, we might see these runners go off and grab jump before coming back.
Well, we do have Riku in Darunia. Right now, he was in here before to get the upstab, I think.
Yeah, and he found that kid in Palace 3, so we're going to find out what this spell is. Commenting on how the dungeons are maybe not geometrically sound. That's true of all of them.
Yeah, is there any... does the logic check for that, like if it would work in real life?
Well, see, no, it doesn't. But the way I think of it is, like, it's not a sheet of paper, right? Like, it looks flat because it's a 2D platform, but in reality, Link's in 3 dimensions, so when you go through a room, you might be going around a corner or something.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's a really good point. So we saw that we got the spell, right? Out of
Yes. Yes.
TheCowness was in that really annoying room with like the large squarish like hallway with the the square kind of blocks in the way, and then a whole bunch of the skull bubbles in there that makes it a huge pain to make those jumps, which are hard without the jump spell, and he just ferried through it, which I really respect. I hate those hallways.
Got a question in chat about what the spell does. It's got 2 functions to get the item out of Nukasudo. And then the other function is more defensive. It turns all enemies, well, not all enemies, there are some enemies into bots, which most Zelda 2 runners are not big fans of bots. However, if you're in a sticky situation, you'd rather have a room full of bots than a room full of Iron Knuckles, perhaps, in some cases. So.
Now, did anyone, I want to ask the chat, did anyone as a kid playing this, did you know that the spell turned enemies into bots? Because I didn't know that until I saw speedrunners doing it.
Did you see, sorry, I didn't mean to cut you off and change the subject, but I just want to point out that Countess nailed that jump.
People give me grief fighting Barba for, well, no, if you lose speed walking into the room, you don't know where Barba's going to be. But man, if I go full speed, I fall into lava every time. Like, I cannot get into this room without going slow. Oh, ooh, an arm stab hitting her in the chin. Damn, that's a underutilized technique.
It sure is, and I feel you on that jump too, Joshy D. It is kind of scary. It's something where if I'm down to my last life, I actually probably won't bother. But if I have a couple lives left, then why not?
Yeah, I mean, it's the I should learn, but I mean, I should learn the Barba fight at all. I fight her in the chumpiest weird way because I have a hard time attacking to the left.
So that'll be 4 gems for Countess. We got 2 palaces left, Palace 3 and Palace 4. We know Palace 3 is in the Valley of Death. Have we even seen Palace 4? I feel like we haven't even seen it yet.
No, we saw someone walk into it.
Oh, okay.
But
I was wondering if maybe it was hanging out with the 2 towns.
Oh, that'd be amazing.
You're right. We did see somebody walk into it, but of course they're not going to do it without the reflect spell. So.
Nah, there's no point. I mean, if you really, really were missing an item to get reflect, maybe. Race, the kid was in 4, which was necessary to get reflect unless you got fire, and that was a really cruel place to put it.
Yeah, and these runners still don't have the medicine, so it could be a similar situation. Perhaps.
We have speculation in chat that it's going to be under the Death Mountain rock, and the hammer's going to be deep in 6, and I mean, it's all these worst case scenarios, which is probably the most fun thing to do in chat during a randomizer race, is just imagining how horrible things are going to go and how inconvenient the path to get the necessary items is going to be.
And a quick Goomba find for Riku here, so...
Yeah, Goomba just hits like a freaking truck. If Prez was in chat, he knows better, I think, than anyone the history of Goomba in the U.S. as compared to the Famicom Disk System version of the game. I don't believe this boss exists in the Disk System, and was something put in for the U.S. version.
I believe that's correct, yes. I think you actually have a rematch in Palace 5 with Horsehead, if I'm remembering properly, although I've not played the Famicom version. I should do that someday.
Yeah, it'd be really fun.
So Cowness is making his way through Valley of Death right now on his way to Palace 3. Does not get the fairy feet trick, so he's going to have to... Well, he's going to try again.
He's just going to fairy forward.
Yeah. You don't want to miss it and then have to get stuck without a way of getting out of one of these encounters easily.
Cowness has powered himself up by letting one long lock of hair dangle in front of his right eye, looking super mysterious right now.
He looks pretty intense.
Yeah, he's leaning forward like he's trying to get into his TV because he is in full dick shake mode right now. That's going to be the term for any powered up state in the game. Thundering those two iron knuckles, which is pretty cool.
That's actually not what it means, though, Josh D. It has a very, very clear definition.
No, okay, so as my understanding of full dig shake is when you have the items you need and you do not even consider looking for anything else and you just try to beat the game as fast as possible. Is that correct?
I think it's the more correct interpretation is when you have all the items and spells that you need to beat the game.
Yeah.
And since he doesn't have Reflect currently,
mm-hmm.
it's not an apt description for either of these runners. Actually, they're just one Reflect spell away.
They're very close. They're missing one letter of dig shake. No, fire is not Reflect, Jacob, or fire is shield in the seed. And so that was a change just because no one used fire for really anything. So dig shake, if any of the viewers don't know dig shake, my co-commentator right now is the designer of this randomizer software and decided to make the fire spell more useful and also made the P-bag caves more useful in this game by adding them into the possible locations for key items. There's just parts of the game that no one ever went to and no one ever used, so I like making use of everything the game has to offer. It's really cool. Randomized elevator speeds is a suggestion from Unos. I don't know what the hell good that would do for anyone, but it'd be pretty neat. I know sometimes you're outrunning a skull bubble in an elevator hoping to not get hit. If you got a slow elevator and got rocked by those guys, I'd be so mad at you, Dig Shake.
Yeah, people are asking about FDS randomization. I am not familiar enough with that game to even speculate on how easy or difficult that would be. Some stuff I would imagine would probably carry over, and some stuff probably not. Now, there is a section on the upper continent. Although, no, we saw Countess take the boots up there. I'm trying to figure out where they haven't been on this map. Figure out where those towns are.
Yeah, there was an inlet. There's like a foresty section just north of the raft tile on the west coast of the east continent that had a palace that I believe Riku went.
Go.
Oh.
Just sitting right in the middle of that big swamp. I don't know why you would ever expect a town in the middle of a big giant swamp.
There it is.
But
that's what we're looking for. Well, you're absolutely right, Dig Shake, that something that can happen when exploring a continent like this is to, kind of check the perimeter, and it's really easy to miss things that are in dead center of areas because you feel feel like you've looked everywhere, but you might have just not scrolled one tile far enough in a large section of like a swamp to find something. But that actually wasn't too well hidden. And I was wondering why it took so long to find that.
Yeah. And I mean, anybody who's played this game for any period of time just needs to know that you should probably go dig in the middle of that swamp. There's going to be something there.
Well, I mean, I like sending DigShake screenshots of a full screen of nothing but swamp with nothing in it. Me standing in the middle of it.
I've gotten at least 2 of those from you, I think.
So, himself physically, he is now leaning back in his chair, looking half asleep. A moment ago, he was leaning forward as close as he could get to the screen. He's now gesticulating as to like, what is this?
He's a very animated video game player.
I feel bad because I'm kind of spending more time watching him than what he's doing. So let's. I mean, I need a recap here on the gems. Let me bring up the restream.
TheCowness just has 4 left. Pal's 4 left to do.
Mm-hmm.
But he doesn't have that reflect spell that Riku does. Riku did not complete 6, and we know that he's got to hop over that pit somehow to accomplish that. So figured he might be looking for the jump spell before he goes back there. I don't know.
I wonder how long I would spend like attempting the Canadian hole jump before I figured it would actually save time to go hunting for an item.
I've heard that if you put on Eye of the Tiger, that your chances of making that jump increase exponentially.
No, you need Van Halen's jump. Like that's my power up, but I really would disagree. And yes, Reflect was in Old Kasuto. But still haven't found New Kasuto, which could have it's gonna have 2 items in a spell.
Yep. So TheCowness is probably still on the hunt for those towns, right?
Yeah.
I mean, we know where Reflect is, but he's got to figure that both Kasutos are probably his best bet at this point. Doesn't want to have to go dig up that medicine if he doesn't have to.
No, he's got a lead now, although I don't think he knows it, but it's kind of fool's gold because he's going to have to spend the time that Riku spent looking for a town.
And he's going towards this other town that's sitting in the middle of a swamp.
Well, I think he's been there before. Link7 said, I would try that jump indefinitely. He would never leave the palace.
Riku picking up the tutti flute there. Counts for.
But I mean, so once again, since we're talking about like speculation on strategies, a player like Link7 who is just way better at video games than I am, that would be the proper decision. I know myself. I'm probably not going to get much better at that jump, so I just go get the damn jump spell.
Well, you're never going to get better if you don't try.
I have made it once. I have made it once without jump, and it was I felt very, very, very good about it. I think I made the jump and then was in the next room, and then I died immediately, and I was so mad.
Well, that's true of this particular seed as well. We'll make the jump, and then Barbara's right there in the next room. So.
Okay, so Countess has found 4. So, I mean, this is just a reminder to him of what's holding him back. Oh my god. 2 Doom Knockers and a blue Iron Knuckle. I would ferry the hell over all of this. I don't want any part of this.
So I think Countess is kind of close to the... I actually don't even... I know it's in the middle of a swamp. That was the only thing that I remembered about where the Reflect spell is.
I see the Countess is queuing up Fairy on this desert encounter. It's one of the forced encounters A smart thing to do to just have that ready in case you get knocked. I respect the... Okay, he's just going to ferry through this whole thing. It's a good idea. Why take the chance? You have magic. Don't want to risk a life.
Is it that swamp right there that contains old Kasuto, perhaps?
Oh, it's a swamp, all right. He
It's a
doesn't
big swamp.
seem to have like any interest in looking into it. So how's Riku doing? He's you know, just doing some damage to the palace itself, taking out some of these breakable blocks.
I've been keeping an eye on him. He's going to be hitting... Yeah.
Rock.
Yeah. There weren't many paths left for him to take to get to Karok there.
Oh my god, almost a perfect fight at the start. That was really cool. So this is a completely random fight, and if people... I know some viewers were asking in the chat if Karok's pattern or if any of the boss patterns have been changed or randomized as far as our AI goes, and that is not the case. So this fight is the same as before. If you walk right in without losing speed and duck, you will get one hit automatically, and then just crouch in the right corner and wait for Karok to sort of defeat itself.
So just as Riku places that gem, Countess is going to pick up the Reflect spell and head on over to Palace 4. So now we got a race here. It's a matter of...
It's feeling a lot more like a race now. Riku had a kind of troubling start, but I think with Countess needing to get that spell, and who knows like how long it might take him to find the town. It'll take him even longer if he finds New Kasuto first and spends time in there.
Well, Countess
he did.
Found
He just found it. That's right.
Yeah, so it's and Riku's got to clear 6. Now, I think Riku probably has the harder task since we know that he's going to have to clear that jump.
Yeah, that's...
He could go searching for New Kasuto in hopes that the jump spell is there, or the medicine is lying around somewhere. We don't really know exactly where it is. Could be...
It's under the boulder.
You think it's under the rock?
It's gotta be now.
I mean, where else could it be? There's a water tile somewhere that I don't think that we've seen yet. It could be in 6, or Hammer could be in 6.
I think Countess found the water tile twice.
Oh, did he find the water tile twice? Okay,
Yeah.
well then it can't be there. Then, oh yeah, it is on the tracker. Is marked. Yeah. So then, Palace 6 or the boulder spots, or either the New Kasuto items, I suppose, could also be. Could be the medicine, but
We've seen in this match already that Riku will spend a while in a palace. I mean, he will also leave when things are clearly not progressing. But I imagine he'll try that jump several times before bailing out.
it's not his first time here. What I'm wondering is if he knows that jump is what he's got to do, or if he thinks that there's some other paths that he didn't explore last time around that might be the way.
I don't see him napping, so he'd be up to his memory. It's kind of difficult, especially if you play like a lot of Zelda 2 randomizer seeds to sort of. It's easy for it to just fall out of your brain as soon as you have left for a little while. I mean, we talk about someone having a knowledge advantage, but it's not. You can't assume that a player is going to remember all the details.
Yeah, that's absolutely true. I mean, I was having trouble in my race last night just remembering where the heck Palace 2 was. And that was only 10 minutes into the race.
So the Countess realized that he was not going to make that jump, and then queued up Fairy and cast it the moment he left the screen, so he lost the magic, but got no benefit out of it. And of course, we got a grumpy gesticulation out of him too, which has really been a highlight of this race for me.
Fortunately for Countess, I think this is actually the right way to go. So,
yeah, sometimes it's a blessing when you miss a jump or you don't have Fairy to cast in Palace 6 to go through that little narrow channel that's Fairy required. and you just happened to find what you were looking for anyway.
Turns around. Does he think this is a loop? I guess he thought that was a loop.
Yeah, possible he was paying closer attention than we were to his palace and knows something that we don't know.
Oh, it definitely was a
yeah.
loop. He's right. That was not the right way to go. And we just saw Riku make that jump there in Palace 6 that is actually the exact same jump that make in the...
It's one you can see, though. It's one you can see. And I know that if you just know where it is, it's no different. But man, it's very different. Yeah, J. Coper pointing out that like this match has seemed like really close and a real shutout at various points. It's kind of interesting how the I feel like the Countess has been in the lead the whole time, but it's increased in strength so many times.
Yeah, I think Countess has been in the lead for most of this race. Yeah.
That was a really nice block of the knife there while Countess was doing a down stab. He's still got the shield block. Looked really cool.
Countess almost looks like he's bored with this race now. He's just totally over it.
I mean, I've hung out with him in person. This is just his natural state of being. It's just kind of never seems like he's having too much fun, even if he's having fun. So I've heard that Palace 4 is, in full square footage, one of the larger palaces, but a lot of it is those dead ends.
Yeah.
I think there's 3 of those same dead ends that have either keys or a jar in them. So there's a lot of space that is, in the palace, but you don't actually have to walk through.
Yeah, that's true, and I don't think we see most runners going down those dead ends all the way.
It feels like a smaller palace than it is to look at it on paper. The Countess got up out of his chair and was just like walking around the room while letting Link fight Karok on his own.
Maybe you just need to stretch his legs.
He's grabbing a stuffed animal and putting it under his arm. Jay Coper says, I introduced myself to the Countess at SGDQ. Basically no reaction. Sounds about right.
Oh, I didn't know he was there.
Yeah, he was there. And if you ever want to see someone who has the grumpiest Twitter feed from, a major video game event, it was just nothing but complaints. And him speculating if he could speed run the elevators and try to optimize his path to dinner.
I wonder, was he there the whole time, or? I'm surprised I didn't meet him.
Yeah, I'm really surprised.
So we see him dumping all of his experience into life levels, and I think it's pretty safe to say at this point he's going to be the first of these 2 racers into a Great Palace.
Yeah, at this point, it's going to take some kind of disaster, I think, to stop the Countess.
He's screaming in chat. I'm not sure what that means. Is that a war cry? Is that he thinks he blew it and he's screaming out of frustration? Or I don't know how to interpret that.
Well, for as long as, this seed, it probably feels like they've taken, because there was some out-of-the-way stuff, in particular the Reflect spell. his opponent isn't done yet, so I mean, he's got to assume that most of his troubles his opponent would be having as well.
That's true. You also see, though, on both of their splits, actually, that they're running, pretty far ahead. So having good runs, the two of them are comparatively. And the seed, I mean, it was a little trolly.
This was not a majorly
bad.
trolly seed. No. And BGT and I had a basically full clear game seed the other night. Like that, it's not one of those. But yeah, I wonder if he feels like he's doing well or not. I'm just trying to interpret that comment in his chat of why he's screaming.
Yeah, I don't know. Maybe it's like the end of Braveheart, and he's...
That's his power up. Yeah. Wow, this is the humongous graveyard.
He seems to have forgotten where Great Palace was. It is on the very left side, about halfway up, I think.
It's been over an hour, I think, since he was there last. So. But I don't see him mapping either. Overworld mapping, if you wanna bring your time down in this game, not losing palaces that you found before is one of the easiest ways to cut your time down. There's just so much unnecessary expenditure of time looking for things you've already found.
Well, maybe that's why he was screaming in chat, because he has
no
remember
idea where he left that palace.
Yeah. He's not far from it. If he keeps going left and then I think just down a little bit, it's in the swamp, I believe.
Whoa! Did we just see the jump?
I think we did.
That was the jump. Well,
Yep.
we grossly misunderestimated Rikuplayer.
A smile from Riku. He actually smiled a little bit, but he has not been showing very much emotion at all. But after he made that jump, he was smiling a little bit. So.
We have a race again. I think we assumed that he was going to have to do that at least twice. So if he remembers where GP is and can get there pretty quickly, he'll be maybe like 3 minutes maybe behind. That's not much in Great Palace with how those things can go.
Yeah.
I mean, he's going to have to wait about 10 minutes for his freaking experience to tick up. This is a long one.
So, yeah, I mean, Countess is in there first, which is a big advantage. He's going to have probably a 1 to 2 minute head start on Riku here, depending on how fast he gets these levels and hustles up to Great Palace. So it really kind of boils down to how trolly is Great Palace going to be. We've seen both ends of that spectrum in this tournament already, too.
Yeah, knowing, if either of these players are the kinds of players who understands like where all the drop rooms are, like counting the drop rooms and really like doing a lot of mental mapping, including the physical mapping as well. Well, you can make really good decisions in Great Palace that will kind of cut your exploration time down. I don't think either of these players are going to be doing that. So, like not realizing that they're headed towards a loop. Yeah, this is wow. He knew where GP was.
Yeah,
so
he remembered.
That saved him a lot. Like he didn't lose any time that he didn't need to lose. So I'm really excited right now for this race.
Countess, though, still I think has probably about a 1.5 minute lead on him in terms of arrival time.
They've got pretty good levels, so we, I mean, again, these aren't. If this was a seeded bracket, I don't think that either of these players would be super high up in the seeding, but they have enough levels that they shouldn't just be dying to stuff. Like they can probably make it through. It's a 30-second difference, apparently.
That was more than 30 seconds. It had to be.
Buzz was keeping track of it.
I think he might have dropped a minute there. I'd say 90 seconds,
Yeah.
but that was definitely more than 30.
I mean, his experience tick up was 30 seconds.
We do have Thunderbird though on Countess's side, so he has found. He's already found 2 dead ends, and he's already found at least 1 drop. So still a chunk left to explore, but finding Thunderbird is definitely.
Oh, so I've seen Countess do this before. He's not a fan of the traditional pendulum strat. Oh, I guess it doesn't matter. But he tends to stand in the center of the room and just let fire rain down upon him. I don't know why.
I used to do that myself, and it's not as bad as it sounds. I mean, it's definitely a bit more risky than the pendulum strats, but it's surprisingly doable to just stand there and dodge in the middle.
Yeah, and probably if you have Reflect, it's even less scary than it seems. Because that does, shrink your hitbox down and allows you to block fire with your shield. So that would make the rain dance a little bit more of a reasonable tactic.
So Countess making it to this fun room, almost made it through, but just not quite.
Well, it wouldn't be called the fun room if it didn't kill people every now and again.
Not that bad of a fun room, all things considered.
It gets much worse than that. It gets even worse still with additional randomization settings where large and small enemies can be mixed up and some other things, which I don't think we've addressed at all. That this race is being played on the whole Swiss round is being played on randomized settings that are fairly friendly to beginners. You start with the candle. We're not dig shake or intimate things.
Yeah, keeping some of the leveling unchanged, like attack as in vanilla, because sometimes you can get poor attack rolls that make fights just that much more difficult. And oh wow,
I don't see that room every day.
No, Count is coming across a room that's fairly rare in the randomizer.
So is this shortened Great Palace? And can we say what that means?
IP, what it does is it starts randomly removing exactly 2 exits. And the final room total will be somewhere between 29 and 45, I want to say. As we see Countess taking an up A there, that could, I mean, it's kind of a risky up A. He doesn't have to go super far back to get there, but if Riku, I mean, by all intents and purposes, in the lead now.
Yeah.
If he goes the right way, if he takes the same path as Countess did, then it's gonna work out in Countess's favor, I think.
Finding the jar.
He seems surprised. He seems surprised by that jar dropped there. I don't think he knew that was there.
Oh, I think some players are in. Riku should take, and he's not on the path.
Should go up that elevator, huh?
Oh, yep. I mean, how do you know? You go right usually until you're forced to go back and take another right.
Yeah, well, and that's not the tradition. He did peek up the elevator just to kind of see what it was, and it was just a more vertical space. Countess, though, finding another dead end, does not remember how to get back to T-Bird, so given Riku a little extra time to figure this out, he'll be at the dead end here fairly soon.
Yeah, I mean, this could really go either way. Just, I mean, I don't see either player mapping. They're going to be relying on their navigation skills.
I believe Riku is on his last life.
And, he has... Wow, I always get scared about going in the lava there. Word for
for sure.
It's surprisingly easy to ferry yourself into the lava there. I know it doesn't quite look like it. Okay, so that's not an up A. Is that where Countess up A'd? Because I didn't see him ferry backward.
It is, yeah, that's where he up A'd. right there. So Countess is back in Thunderbird's room. I think he's going to beat Riku to the elevator here, but Riku is only a few rooms away. This is pretty exciting.
Yeah, down on lives in magic, Countess has more of both, actually, just to start with. Which could really, I mean, that can make all the difference. It's so easy to just build up a lot of damage just going through Great Palace.
And a forced left turn.
Oh, and these unicorns just won't stop.
Oh, and Riku gets stuck in, or I'm sorry, Countess. Gets stuck in this room. It is possible to do this without the jump spell, but I don't know if he knows the strat.
He's going to have to develop a strat. So we're witnessing the creation of a strat here.
Well, is this actually going to work? This could be something interesting if he could get up on that block. I don't know if that would...
He's hitting the lab. He's... Oh, well, see, he decides to not even mess with that.
I don't think he's got any other options, though, does he?
He probably doesn't, but he probably doesn't know what he's supposed to do. He might think that it's impossible. And if that was the case, then the assumption would be, I'm not supposed to be here. The problem with Randomizer is that things can seem impossible that are possible if you just know your options fully.
Well, he's got to know that it's possible with jump.
Yes,
right. He just doesn't.
Absolutely.
He just doesn't have.
He doesn't have jump. So he probably thinks it's jump required. Is my guess. I mean, I love trying to speculate what's going on in someone's head. You know, like as if we could know.
Yeah, if you haven't seen that technique before to get up there using without jump, it would be pretty darn tough to come up with that on your own.
Yeah, I mean, maybe it would be a good thing for the community to kind of put together a FAQ of tech that doesn't seem obvious. I mean, I remember thinking seeds were impossible because you had to ferry backwards through Saria and just not even realizing that was something you could do. And just like really, things that we take for granted now because we've played a bunch of Randomizer could be super helpful. I mean, I would like to learn the proper strat to get through that block room. I don't think I know it.
Well, the question now is, does Riku know it? Because if he does, that could be
GG.
Yeah.
I feel like we've seen this room a number of times.
Yeah, Countess is going back. This is still a dead end. It's just as much of a dead end as it was.
Countess is sure.
Yeah, here it comes. Probably nasty words about me.
Yeah.
Up A's again.
He's going to find jump.
Oh,
That's
wow.
what he's doing. What if they both go get jump?
That would be something.
He's saying in his chat. He says jump required. BRB.
Yep. Well,
this might be a thing.
Oh
wow.
my goodness! Wow. Not a strat that I've seen there before, but hey,
that was an elegantly simple strat. Is he gonna take the drop?
Takes the Eon drop. I think we've seen. Have we seen this room before? I think we have. Oh no, we have not, because there's a little digger. No, we have not seen this room before. Interesting that he decided to go left there. In that case.
Yeah, I wonder what the thought was there. I mean, maybe he knows where all the lives are and wants to make sure that again. Yeah, I mean, it is an interesting choice to take the drop. I mean, I say that everyone should take the drop. Oh, this freaking no! This room.
Oh.
I mean, I fall into that all the time. Even when I know that room's there, I'll still just like walk in and just fall into the lava because I didn't. I had too much momentum.
if you got the magic, just cast fairy right away. Like even with large enemies, especially cast it right away. But with the small ones, too, it can still be a tricky room.
Why even mess around? You know, like the downside is so terrible in Great Palace.
I'm still thinking about that awesome fairy strat
Really
that
great.
Riku used in that room.
Great.
That was
I'm just good problem solving. It's gonna be so satisfying. Like if let's say that he does win this race, like that, you know, is gonna be the. I mean, that's the moment. That's where. Also,
sorry. I hope I'm not spoiling things as they happen, but
yeah, we have some loops. Oh, did he do the lava? Man, calling it all. Well, welcome to New Kasuto, everybody. That's the person who will give you an item. Countess has no interest in heading in there. He's strictly going for the spell that's available here. If he doesn't find the spell, it has to be, right? We don't have life, do we?
I mean, it could be medicine blocked.
Yeah.
It could be medicine blocked.
Oh,
for all we know.
Okay, so now that he's here, he really should check out what the magic container item is and the spell item, because those could be.
Well,
medicine.
He never got spell. He has the kid, but he never got spell, so he cannot check that item. He can check the magic container item.
Oh, I'm sorry, I spoiled that, guys. That really was a bad spoil. But hey, someone called it in chat before I said it, so.
And Riku taking a game over here, he has to have a pretty good idea of where he needs to go. As Countess picks up a pea bag, he looks miserable.
At least it wasn't one of those dollar store key bags that Larry likes to talk about. It was a full 500. What a race. This is great. A lot of drama at the end.
Not the ending that I think any of us were expecting here.
No, Countess was well ahead for quite a while. Whoa, was Riku loading save states?
So we know for a fact that if jump is what Countess is after, he's going to have to find the medicine to get it. And that medicine is, I think, very... What places are left? We know the spell item in New Kasuto has not been found. Mm-hmm. I think that's probably the hammer, which will get you the medicine under the rock on Death Mountain. Like, I'm just not sure there are any other spots.
We found the hammer caves. We found one of the things on Death Mountain.
Mm-hmm.
Adagina says that we haven't found the item in 6 or 5. At this point, don't recall.
Yeah, that seems right, although neither of those places are particularly tempting to go hunt for an item.
No, that would not be my first choice. Oh, sorry, Buzz, what I said is there was a emulator message that came up on Riku's screen that said something about a save state. He didn't actually load anything. It was... Well, the Countess is it is his belief, which is now confirmed, that in Mido is where you'll get the jump spell. There's a room in Great Palace that you don't need the jump spell for, but he does believe that you need the jump spell for.
Well, he actually doesn't know that he's looking for the medicine yet because he hasn't turned in his kid.
Right.
So I'm a little fearful for Countess's controller here in the next couple of minutes.
Oh,
already typing in chat in before spell. Oh
man.
Boy, we already know how correct he is about that.
Roller coaster of emotions for Countess right now. So, I wonder if he's gonna go first to Nukasudo and try to get that spell item.
That seems more attractive than either 5 or 6. So yes.
Yep. He's saying back to Nukasudo for the hammer in his chat. Yeah, and absolutely any hint giving or information provided to the players in chat would be probably grounds for disqualification. Even though it wasn't his fault.
You ruined the run for the runners, but you're probably also going to get banned from restreams as well. So if you keep doing stuff like that.
Oh, it was. I mean, no one did it. It's like someone asked if it was okay.
Oh yeah. Oh wow! Look at this. All you people saying to take the Eon drop. Look what was right next door. So I feel like this has to be a pretty good chance that Dark Link will be chilling at the end of this little section of the Great Palace, considering that was the last drop room, I believe.
How much more palace could there really be?
Oh boy, Countess making his way back to Kasudo, it seems.
Yeah, this is really unfortunate. I mean, he doesn't know. He's doing what he thinks is the best and required thing to do. We know differently, and it's just it's something that I really might have done. If I couldn't figure out how to get through there, I would just assume it was.
Oh wow!
Was the fat loop. Riku's holding his head.
The shock, the look of dismay.
Who built this palace? It was actually built by the ancient Hylians to protect the Triforest, right? I think there's sometimes the assumption that this is a palace created by Ganon's minions to summon him or something. But I believe the lore tells us that that all of the creatures in here are quote good guardians. Well, okay, at least it's the medicine, and that stops that.
Well, this is interesting because Riku rather has still not found Dark Link, and Countess on his way to grab Jump. Riku currently just game over, going the wrong way. So
a game over again. Probably by the time that Countess grabs that spell, they could be starting Great Palace again at the same time, and it would world.
I sort of owe an apology to all of you Eon Drop fans, because that other drop being a loop means that actually Eon Drop is the correct way to go, and there must be some branch down that Eon Drop that Riku has not yet explored.
I've been on the Eon Drop train since day one. I think it's always the correct strategy.
You liked Eon Drop before it was cool.
Before it was cool. Eon confirming that you always take the Eon Drop. I have not seen either player taking Great Palace map notes.
If you're Riku right now, you kind of got to be kicking yourself a little bit, because there's a lot of time in here. Even if he thought he was ahead coming in, he cannot feel great about where he's at right now.
Yeah, I think
probably expecting that.
In a player's head, when you start seeing the same rooms again, like, you know that's not time that your opponent has to spend as well. in for an item, you know that your opponent has to do that. So you're boned, but you don't feel like that's completely lost time. Like, this is all on him at this point. Like, all this extra exploration. So, and frustration in a tournament setting can affect your play, and also making when you feel like you've made mistakes in your late, could make your hand less steady.
So Countess is back.
Wow, I wouldn't have guessed.
And he knows roughly where to go. I mean, he knows how to get back to that room, I'm sure. He'll have to make the decision about the Eon drop and the other drop once he gets there.
Yeah, I wonder at this point if he sees the Eon drop, if he's, salty enough that he's just going to take it, and saying, meta be damned. So, we know that Riku's going in the right direction now.
Is he going to take the Eon drop?
Not,
Oh, he needs to. He really needs to.
Does he forget what's over here? Okay.
Okay. All right. He's putting it together.
I don't even know.
I saw him walk past that Eon drop, and my heart just fell because that other drop is going to loop him back.
Well, they're making a show out of this. This is incredible. Oh my God, no! Please, Jesus Christ. Okay. I'm sorry. Okay, I believe we're on the correct path now.
Yeah, we're going downward in the fairy room.
The Countess is gonna have to make a lot of lucky choices. Like, there is several options that would be perfectly fine decisions, except that they happen to be totally wrong. He's gonna have to make them all correctly to get out of this.
Does Countess have? Yeah, he's got upset. He made it.
Well, we found the boss.
Oh boy.
Is this his last life? I wonder how many lives Riku. I think he has a few lives. Well, Countess is off the path. Dark Link taking an early lead with a jump stab on Riku.
He can take a couple more bops.
He can take a couple more.
I think he'll be fine. Dark Link is not making it easy.
Oh my God! Okay. What a finish!
There we have it. The decision by Countess to go grab jump, I think, probably the defining moment of this race, at least at the end here.
But Larry, I'm so sorry, but I mean, I'm watching the thing. I'm on multi-Twitch. I can't slow it down. But really, yeah, this was a very unexpected set of circumstances at the end of the race here to lead to this drama. Countess, if Countess doesn't know how to get through that room, it's not like he made the wrong choice. He didn't have necessary to make the right choice.
That's right. He made the best choice that he could have made in those circumstances. Yeah. And it's the choice he had to make. So, unfortunately, taking the wrong drop there, finding the loop around.
Oh, what? You get trolled in chat for using multi-Twitch now? Like, what is this? Am I supposed to be one of the VLC people.
There's no problem with multi-twitch. You just got to get used to slowing down a little bit. Which I think is generally a good thing anyway, to just kind of slow it down a little bit, let the action speak for itself.
So let's see what the Countess does here at the drop.
It's going to take it this time. He's still got one more decision left to make. We know what the right one is.
Doesn't cast fairy in this room, but I like the decision to go. Whoa! I thought he was going back for the fairy, but is instead going back to take the wrong path.
Whoops. Likes this room better than the waffle room that was waiting for him down there.
Yeah, at first I was really into the decision because I thought he was going to grab that fairy, which is sometimes called the fairy of shame, but it is absolutely the fairy of reason when you have no health left and one life left in a Great Palace. So I think he decided that he just didn't like that Bird Knight and will instead go through this lattice structure known as the waffle room.
Hello.
Hey, Riku! Congratulations
Thanks.
on the win. Yeah, that was
some Great Palace.
Especially, yeah, that Great Palace. I think you full cleared it, or at least
I can guarantee I full cleared it. I went every single way, and it was just one elevator that I just didn't walk past one elevator, and that was the answer.
Yep. It was a really good race, actually. You got off to a little bit of a slow start. Can you walk us through what happened there at sort of more at the beginning of this seat?
Just didn't find anything that could really start moving me forward that much. Like, I found the raft and the glove, and I was just like, okay, well, I saw Palace 2 and Palace 1. I knew those were the only two there since I found GP by that time. And I couldn't find any way to get through to actually see what was into it all. So I actually had to try to find a key somewhere. And knowing where 1 was, I went in there and found that key and just decided that it's best to just go into 2 and maybe grind out some levels because of what the Dripper might have.
Yeah, we saw you taking advantage of those orange iron knuckles coming out of the Dripper there in Palace 2.
Yeah. Since I'm not confident at low levels yet, I need to get up to like a certain point before I can actually start going and doing stuff.
Yeah.
Like, I'm surprised I didn't find Death Mountain at all. That's one thing that I'm surprised about.
I'm gonna need a
minute not much in there, at least from what we can tell. We know there's at least a heart container and maybe the hammer in there. I don't know what else it could be besides those items. Reflect was kind of the tricky thing to find in this seed, it seemed like.
Yeah, definitely. Like, that's why when you mentioned in the chat, like, hey, Valley of Death is accessible, I knew it was accessible. I knew I could get through it. But I didn't have Reflect yet, and that was what was bothering me, because I knew I still had 2 towns over here that I could find that have Reflect at them.
Yeah, I didn't say that as to try and tip anybody off. I was only saying that because of that wacky encounter on the corner tile.
Oh, yeah,
there.
I didn't know that until after that. And I was just like, well, I know it's accessible. Like,
yeah,
I know I can get through it and everything. I just didn't want to yet because of the fact that I knew what I was still looking for. But then I just decided, you know what, I may as well just go into there, see what, because I knew it was 3 at that point in time. Because I went far enough into 6 on Maze Island to know it was 6. Especially with the boss being like 1 room over.
Oh yeah, speaking of 6, you made that jump without the jump spell. Props on that. Have you been practicing those jumps?
Nope. I was just like, I'm probably going to fall down this drop, and I know I'm going to fall down. And I made it. I was just like, I'm glad I didn't miss that, because I know if I missed that, I'd have to walk all the way around again, and it just. And you know, it's called the Canadian hole. I know that, and I'm glad that I didn't fall into it for that reason, because I am Canadian. Just got to prove you guys wrong.
Yeah, the non-Canadian in this race, I think, did fall in that gap at least once. So.
Yeah,
And that was a major gap closure, because at that point, I think you were a bit behind. TheCowness was getting ready to go into Great Palace at that point, and we assumed that you might miss that jump a couple times and get in there a lot later. But then you ended up being only 90 seconds behind Cowness to enter Great Palace.
Yeah, and like that Great Palace is really like, it's a really big loop around in there. Like, there's that one point where I went around and then I got all the way, I fell down that one drop, and then I came out and I hit Thunderbird's room again.
Yeah, that loop was. I saw the look of shock on your face when you took that loop, for sure.
Yeah, I was like, okay, so what room did I miss looking at through here? Because I saw even like the fairy room, I saw the jump room, which Near messaged in my chat after, and he's just like, it's a good thing you know how to get through that without jump.
Yeah.
Because lots of people don't know how to get through that without jump yet. Or quite a few people just don't know that you can actually do that, just knock up enough and then ferry through that area.
Yep.
So
I think we actually have Cowness here with us. What's up, Cowness?
Hello. I was not happy about how that ended.
Yeah, I can imagine.
Can you get through that room without jump?
yes, you can.
Absolutely.
I should have kept trying.
Riku used fairy, but you don't even actually need fairy. You can do it with just upstab by itself. Save yourself a little bit of magic. It's definitely possible. You got to leave yourself a platform. Leave that left column alone as much as you can, so you can stand on it. Yeah, that's the strat to get through there. Yeah, so that was a really tough break for you, Countess. You were actually ahead by at least a minute or two at that point, and we're ahead for most of the race, actually. It seemed like you were actually cruising it. I mean, I didn't see you run into many problems at all, except for maybe that reflect spell.
Yeah, I felt like I was wasting time getting the items in Palace 1 and 2, and I got like completely lost in 6 because I was too busy thinking about the Valley of Death.
We also saw you go into Death Mountain there. What was the thought behind digging that out?
I think I just had high levels and I had the boots. There was something I was looking for, but I don't remember. Maybe it was just in case I needed something for reflect.
Yeah, probably not looking for that heart container
No.
that you ended up finding. Well, that is definitely a tough break for you, man. And I really feel bad.
Oh, well, it happened.
Yeah. Looking ahead, we don't know what the next round matchups are going to be, but we can kind of speculate. Winning, he's going to take on. We've got a fair number of winners. Nirm could be a possibility. Jay Coper, King Doll, or Resner, or Jam, Eric.
And is it winners versus winners in the next round, or
It is, yeah. The way the system works, it matches up people with the same records to. So you can't really determine who's going to be facing who until you know the records of all the participants of a given round.
My time for the next round then, since I can pull out like sub 1.5 times all the time.
not
Yeah.
me?
And I
Yeah, always forget that Josh ED has a win. Yeah.
Yeah, Joshy D pulling out the win just earlier on this week. And Countess might be facing or Ryan 7 or the one and only Angry Larry in the next round. So a couple of good potential matchups there too, I think.